wealth.
Courtney Clenney was back in front of a judge today. She's accused of murdering her boyfriend.
Insanity.
So last month, Clenney and her attorneys had been asking the judge to let her await her murder trial at home.
Domestic violence.
The court indicated she had millions of dollars at her disposal.
Today we'll be looking at an online model that committed an unthinkable crime against their partner for seemingly no reason. And with that, many wonder if there's any way to prevent incidents like this from happening in the future. Courtney Taylor Clenney was born in Texas on April 21st, 1996. Even from a young age, her parents felt their daughter was destined for greatness. She was very athletic, participating in a variety of activities including gymnastics and horseback riding. In spite of this, however, the adolescent didn't feel passionate about sports. Instead, her interest lay on an entirely different career path. Upon turning 13, Courtney pivoted to entertainment. The teen was determined and began attending acting, dancing, and voice classes. Within a year, she began appearing in commercials and eventually moved to Los Angeles after graduating. Before long, she took roles as an extra on titles such as Boyhood and Everybody Wants Some. And in 2015, she was cast in rapper G-Eazy's music video for Me, Myself, and I. While the aspiring actress began to get roles, she wasn't making much of a name for herself. Most of these appearances were uncredited and easy to overlook. It was perhaps for that reason she started to expand her horizons. In 2016, Courtney participated in her first bikini competition, the 2016 MPC West Coast Classic. She entertained two categories, Novice Class C and F, and won 6th and 9th place respectively. This recognition far exceeded any she had gotten before. And so it was only a few months later that she entered another contest called MPC Brew City. Courtney not only placed higher at this event, but walked away with the first place prize. Indeed, this victory cemented her status as a fitness model, as she was now qualified to enter national competitions. While this itself indicated the start of a successful career, it was ultimately a different aspect of the business that was the most lucrative. You see, Courtney had begun to document her journey in the fitness industry on the World Wide Web. This included a YouTube channel in which she'd answer questions about her diet and relationship status. But more importantly, it entailed titillating pictures of her physique across social media. This proved extremely popular, as she quickly accumulated a massive audience. In February of 2016, her Instagram sat at over 780,000 followers. By October of the next year, that number grew to 1.3 million. This attention caught the eye of Playboy magazine, who subsequently reached out to the model for a photo shoot. It was clear that Courtney had a knack for monetizing the male gaze, but there was still one more venue that she hadn't taken advantage of, a step that could easily earn her millions. It was around the same time that the adult subscription service OnlyFans was launched. Within the first 3 years, the site amassed over 12 million users, but it wouldn't enter mainstream consciousness until the pandemic. And as you can probably guess, Courtney was part of that wave. The model began to sell exclusive not safe for work material on the platform. This ranged from nude photo shoots to videos of herself twerking. It was advertised alongside the offer of allowing men the opportunity to talk with her. This immediately drew huge returns, with her account exploding in popularity. In fact, by the end of the year, she made over $960,000 from the site. This newfound wealth enabled her to move back to Austin, renting out a penthouse suite at the Berkshire Riverview complex that June. Though Courtney was uploading nudes of herself online, she had yet to offer footage of full-blown intercourse. That changed in 2021 with the release of her own amateur tapes. This boosted her popularity even further, as by the end of the year she reached over 2 million followers on Instagram. But that was far less staggering than her earnings from OnlyFans, bringing in over $1.8 million that year. The model went from an aspiring actress to a multi-millionaire. Given that she now had a boyfriend, the question many of her fans raised was over the identity of the man in her videos. Her partner was eventually revealed to be Christian Toby Obumseli, a 27-year-old who also grew up in Texas. Initially studying to be an engineer, he would luck out as a relatively early adopter of Bitcoin. When the two got together, Christian was supporting himself as a full-time crypto trader. It's not exactly certain when they began dating, but by the fall of 2020, they were living together at the Riverview Suite. From that point forward, the couple would make videos for her OnlyFans. While her content and social media posts showed the highlights of their relationship, not everything was as it seemed. In fact, those who knew Christian and Courtney in real life would bear witness to a far darker, morbid picture. We'll learn more about this after a brief word from our sponsor. It's always a good thing to spice up your relationship with your partner. And if you're looking for products of the adult variety, Adam and Eve is the place to shop. Having been in business for over 50 years, they are experts when it comes to anything in grown-up toys and lingerie. And right now, if you use my discount code GFM at checkout, you will get 50% off one item plus free shipping in the US or Canada. Again, go to adamandeve.com and use code GFM at checkout to get 50% off one item and free shipping in the US and Canada. The Berkshire Riverview complex is popular amongst young, wealthy professionals due to its proximity to the downtown area. Even still, Courtney was able to distinguish herself from the other residents. Upon moving in, neighbors recalled that she frequently hosted loud parties. She also boasted often about making a living off of OnlyFans. Yet their initial experiences, for the most part, were positive. One reflected that she seemed bubbly at first, and was extremely generous with her money. They noted her affinity for gift giving and stated, honestly, she was a nice person. She wanted to just have a good time and make people happy. But that affability seemed to disappear whenever the model was intoxicated. The first indication of Courtney's struggle with alcoholism came in 2015. While living in California, the actress was arrested for public intoxication. This resulted in a warrant, though it remained open well until this year. Her next run-in with the law wouldn't be until after she began dating Christian. On September 16, 2020, she was arrested for driving under the influence. The model was released on a bond of $8,000 and was forced to install a breathalyzer in her car. That timing is not coincidental, as it's clear her substance abuse only got worse as the relationship continued. The same resident who complimented Courtney would also state, when she was intoxicated or using, it was like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. This observation is even more concerning in context with another neighbor's statement to Rolling Stone. We crossed paths during her move-in. She was headed out to walk her dogs, and I stopped to say hello. She was just obliterated, completely drunk out of her mind, slurring words. It struck me as strange, and when I tell you, I never saw her sober again. As residents were further exposed to their toxic relationship, those warm impressions quickly wore off. They recalled seeing Courtney publicly demean Christian on several occasions. It began as offhand remarks, like saying the relationship wouldn't last, and she was just dating him for now, while he was in the room. But that soon escalated to more physical embarrassments. On several occasions, Courtney was seen reprimanding him in a bizarre manner. There were multiple times where she was kind of hitting him, not aggressively, but like how you'd punish a dog, when you tap them on the head once or twice. These paint Christian as quite passive, something one of the neighbors would comment on directly. She would walk in front, and he would always walk behind her, basically not even looking at people. Others recalled several explosive fights and the sounds of screaming, slamming doors, and broken glass. In one such incident, she threw a suitcase filled with Christian's belongings off their balcony. It landed in the middle of the retention pond and shattered, never being recovered. To reconcile, she bought him a Louis Vuitton suitcase. In March of 2021, a resident heard screaming in the building's garage while walking to her car. She ran towards the sound, only to find the couple. She recounts, Christian was opening the door and trying to get her in. Not pushing her, but saying go, and she was swinging. I started yelling, hey, and she went inside and slammed the door. The woman then walked up to Christian, who began apologizing. He explained that she was really drunk, and he just wanted to make sure she got home safe. As he walked past her, she noticed that he had marks on his face that looked like scratches, and his shirt was torn at the collar. These disturbances continued until January of 2022, when the couple moved to a luxury condo in Miami, Florida. But of course, even with the new environment, the relationship did not change. This footage from an elevator camera is dated February 21st, just a month after they moved. It begins with Courtney repeatedly pressing a button on the panel before lashing out. Once Christian enters, she begins hitting and shoving him unprompted. She then attempts to strike him on the head, forcing him to push her away. Their arguments were reportedly so loud that even neighbors 2 floors above them could hear the fighting. It was to the point that police were called several times, and management were in the process of evicting them. Perhaps that could have been the catalyst for the relationship ending for good. But tragically, that day never came, as on April 3rd, law enforcement was called to the apartment one final time. That Sunday began peacefully, as the couple played with their dogs in the apartment. Around noon, Christian left to get food, returning home at approximately 4:32 p.m. This detail is important because 25 minutes later, she called 911 to report that he'd been stabbed. In the background, Christian could be heard saying, "I think I'm going to die." Courtney then replies, "I'm so sorry, baby." When authorities arrived, they found her cradling the man's body, which had an apparent knife wound to the chest. She was dressed in a thin black bra, gray sweatpants, and covered in his blood. Christian was immediately rushed to Jackson Memorial Hospital, but the injury was fatal, and he passed away. He was only 27. Given that she was the only suspect, Courtney was handcuffed and subsequently brought in for questioning. There she provided several inconsistent accounts about the incident. She first claimed to have armed herself with a knife after Christian shoved her against the wall by the neck, though not choking her. Then she claimed that he threw her to the ground but allowed her to get up. There were no injuries on her body to corroborate either of these accounts. In describing the stabbing, she claimed to have thrown the knife at him from a distance of 10 feet. She also commented, "I do not think that this was... I don't know. I really don't know if this was justified at all." This interrogation, however, would be cut short when Courtney began to threaten her own life. You see, Florida has a law known as the Baker Act. It allows for the institutionalization of people thought to be at risk to themselves or others. Because of this, the murder suspect was swiftly transferred to a mental health facility for evaluation. This psychiatric hold can only last up to 3 days. But once that time lapsed, rather than be subject to further questioning, Courtney was allowed to walk free. This fact enraged the public, who were upset that an alleged murderer wasn't in any form of custody. So much so that one woman would spot Courtney at a hotel bar a week later and confront her directly.
"Yeah, you should go, because you just killed your boyfriend. Yeah, you did."
The clip was then posted to Instagram with the caption, "Courtney Taylor thought she could casually sit at the bar with her father after she brutally murdered her boyfriend on Sunday. MPD police, does this look like a mentally unstable person to you, as she claims?" In response, her lawyer would issue a statement through TMZ alleging that his client was acting in self-defense. He claimed that Courtney was the victim of physical, emotional, and mental abuse, and even suggested she may have been the victim of human trafficking. Christian's family would start a GoFundMe to help pay for funeral arrangements, as well as call for justice. Included in the headline was a phone number asking readers to demand an investigation. It has so far reached over $80,000. It would be months before Courtney would face any kind of serious legal repercussion. This is, once again, in spite of the aforementioned open warrant in California. Following the hotel spectacle, she fled to Hawaii and remained there up until her arrest. But that was only after spending $1.3 million to buy a 3,000 square foot home down the street from her parents. In the meantime, the public began to dig through the couple's online history and unearthed some rather questionable comments. 3 days after his murder, several tweets Christian had made in high school would resurface. They showed him disrespecting black women in favor of white women, The screenshots were shared with the caption, "When you get murdered by your preference." In the replies, people began to express disgust, with one stating, "My sympathy has dropped to 0%. 2 weeks before the stabbing, Courtney appeared on the We in Miami podcast. There, she went on record to state her own dating preferences as well.
You look like the type of girl that only dates like rich guys. Is that true?
No, that's not true. I only date black guys. Especially black guys. Especially black guys.
On August 10th, Courtney was finally arrested and charged with second-degree murder. She was extradited to Florida 2.5 weeks later. This only came after law enforcement began to question the idea that she had acted in self-defense. One Miami detective would admit, "I learned that Christian was always the one trying to calm the situation down. Based on the messages and everything else, he was always the one getting hurt, and the defendant is the one unable to control herself and hurt him." The arrest warrant gives insight to details not previously known to the public that expose even more contradictions in her story. The claim that she'd thrown the knife was demonstrably not true. The autopsy revealed the injury was caused by a powerful and downward thrust. The crime scene indicated that Christian had bled for an extended period of time before police arrived, and phone records show that her mother had been on call during the entire incident. She recalled hearing her daughter yell that Christian was lying and demanding him to leave the apartment. Despite all of this evidence, Courtney would plead not guilty. On November 2nd, a series of secret recordings were released to the public. Christian had apparently taken them on his phone to chronicle their various arguments. In one clip, Courtney can be heard screaming at him because he said hello to a female acquaintance while biking. She calls him the N-word several times, before hollering, "Shut up and let me slap you." She then orders him to find her effing phone and charge it. Another came after Courtney jumped out of their car to attack another motorist. Christian can be heard pleading for her to get back in, as she begins banging her head. She then explains to a passerby that Christian told her to apologize to the man for hitting him. She then shouts, "F you, you make yourself look good in front of people. You just told me to effing apologize to a lowlife. You're supposed to protect me." Moments later, the sound of slapping can be heard as they get back in their car. Christian is then heard pleading, "Stop hitting me." But the most harrowing one is from just a month before his death. In this video, Courtney is captured stating, "I'm actually not having a good day, where I actually, literally, effing want to kill you, but you don't take me seriously." On November 5th, text messages between the two were published. In an excerpt from October of 2021, he mentions that she stabbed him in the leg, and that the pain was so bad he could barely walk. "I woke up happy. I took you to Vegas and drove right back. Helped you shoot, drank with you, did blow with you just so you're having a great day. And I'm doing all of this while my leg hurts so effing bad. Did I make you feel like S for stabbing me? No, I just sucked it up and hope tomorrow will be better." In another message, he references being sliced in the face with a knife. She then apparently slapped his stitches to prevent them from healing. He also mourns being cheated on, kicked out, and called a slur before solemnly asking, "Is love going to kill me?" Courtney's lawyer would continue to argue the stabbing wasn't self-defense. He also requested that any salacious materials, including homemade pornography, be held from the public. This motion was denied by the judge. Prosecutors would argue against a pretrial release, viewing her as a flight risk. They pointed to her massive wealth from OnlyFans, with the model earning $300,000 in August alone. The filing also revealed that after the murder, she wired $1 million to her father, which they felt was an attempt to hide assets. In response, her father appeared in court to argue in his daughter's favor. He claimed that her net worth was considerably lower, testifying she only had about $11,000 to her name and $375,000 equity in her house. The money was apparently transferred as she was a mess due to trauma, which worsened after April 3rd. He then pointed out her OnlyFans was banned after the arrest, noting he wasn't aware of its existence until recently. Courtney would be denied bail a month later, resulting in her leaving the court in tears. As of the time of writing, Courtney Clenney's trial is ongoing. So there you have the story of the OnlyFans girl that killed her boyfriend, which just goes to show that domestic abusers come in all shapes and sizes. And with that, I think I'll end the video here. So until next time, thanks for watching.